Josh here. This is Treksplained. I was debating on going to the pilot of The Next Generation first, or going to the second pilot of the original series. Argued with myself back and forth, but I ended up choosing Kirk's first appearance. Next week, I'll do Next Gen. A little bit of history first. This is the second Star Trek pilot, but it was the third to be broadcast. Well, according to the myth, which I'm not sure has ever been authenticated, Lucille Ball convinced network executives at Desilu Studios to film a second pilot because she thought the series had potential and liked Roddenberry, the creator of Star Trek. Now let's get started on the episode. Captain's Log, Stardate 1312.4. The Enterprise is picking up a distress signal from the SS Valiant, a vessel that has been missing for 2 centuries. Let's investigate. Kirk and Spock are playing chess, while Kirk is ruminating about what is to come. To Spock's surprise, Kirk puts him into check. Impossible. Mr. Kelso calls from the bridge and says the vessel has been spotted, but it's only 1 meter in diameter. Not even big enough to be a lifeboat, but big enough to bring on board. Let's do that. Scotty beams it aboard, and it appears to be an old recorder, like a black box. It starts beeping as they try to interface with it. They call for red alert. Coming back from the credits, Kirk and Spock are heading up to the bridge in the turbolift when Gary Mitchell, an old friend of Kirk's, holds the door and joins them. He relieves the con officer and they neutralize warp to hold position. Kirk makes an intra-ship announcement to brief everyone on the situations when the department heads show up on the bridge. Kirk wanted them there once they were at the galactic edge. They plan to go past the edge to see what's beyond. Spock makes a report on the record of the black box. The Valiant had been thrown off course and out of the galactic edge. They went to return, but encountered some unknown force. There was a frantic search in the ship's records for ESP in humans. Dr. Daner, the department head for psychiatry, reports that ESP is always quite limited in humans, but it is possible. And apparently, the captain ordered his ship to be self-destructed. How can that be? Well, I guess we've been warned. Let's continue. Off we go to the galactic edge. Doo-doo-doo. Oh, but what is this? Some sort of force field at the edge. If only we had a record of that. The force field is there, but nothing shows it is there. What the deuce? The Enterprise continues to try and pass through, but shorts begin happening. They begin to try and leave, but 2 crewmen are zapped, for lack of a better term. Mitchell and Daner. The Enterprise aborts mission and successfully leaves the force field area. There were 9 dead, and they're only on backups. Kirk checks on Mitchell, but his eyes are all silvery and glowing. What could it mean? The Enterprise limps along on impulse, since it doesn't have warp capability. The nearest starbase is years away at impulse. They begin re-investigating the SS Valiant situation for some sort of clues on their own. They believe it may have to do with ESP, the Esper rating of people. There is a debate between Kirk, Spock, and Daner about how bad it could be. How bad indeed. Mitchell is in sickbay reading, but tries to stretch it out a bit when Kirk comes in. They talk about the eyes, but Mitchell says he feels great. Kirk says they're going to keep Daner observing him and turns to leave, but Mitchell lets out a booming voice which takes Kirk aback. Where the fuck did that come from? Kirk returns to the bridge, where Spock is monitoring Mitchell. They order every test possible, while Mitchell is reading at an incredible speed. He pauses to look at the camera. He knows Kirk is back in sickbay. Dr. Piper says Mitchell's in perfect health. Too perfect. The doctor leaves and it's just Mitchell and Daner then. They talk about how he feels and everything. He begins to think about messing with dials and they start changing. How did he do that? He just thought about it. He then fakes the readings to make it seem like he's dead. Daner worries and says to knock it off and he comes back. Just messing with you, Doc. He also has an incredible memory. She asks him to recite something from memory and he does. There's a little bit of aggressive flirting, but Lee Kelso walks in to see how Mitchell is doing. Mitchell says he really needs to check those power packs or he'll blow the impulse deck. Kelso is intimidated and leaves to check on things. Mitchell ruminates that Kelso is a fool. In the briefing room, Kelso shows Kirk the burnt-out pack and is amazed Mitchell knew it. Daner walks in and they continue. Mitchell is mutating onto something else. Scotty and Spock report about how things have been going a little crazy on the instruments, and Daner gets defensive when Kirk asks why she didn't report Mitchell's abilities. Maybe it's a superior form he's mutating into. What an outburst. Eventually, Mitchell will outpace them entirely and they'll become an irritation to him. What to do then? Meeting adjourned, but Spock stays behind to suggest abandoning Mitchell on a planet close by. They could also replenish the engines there if it works. But there's the possibility the Enterprise won't be able to break orbit again if it does. But hey, it's either that or kill Mitchell. Fine, let's go to Delta Vega. In sickbay, Mitchell is able to use telekinesis now that Kirk walks in with Spock and Dana. He can also zap people, which he does to Kirk and Spock. Mitchell talks about how he could be a god when Kirk and Spock punch him back into the bed and Dana injects him with something that is supposed to keep him unconscious. They drag him to the transporter room and, in a very amusing situation, he is standing unconscious when they beam down. Kirk, Spock, Mitchell, Dana, and Dr. Piper all beam down together. Kelso and another officer are already down there trying to get stuff to restart the engines. After some engineering talk between Kelso and Kirk, Kirk goes to see Mitchell. Mitchell is in a makeshift brig, isolated with a force field. Kirk orders only one medical officer at a time to be present with Mitchell. Dana volunteers, while Piper heads away just to monitor. Kirk and Mitchell go back and forth a bit, culminating in Mitchell throwing himself against the force field. This knocks him back and the silvery glow goes out in his eyes momentarily. They soon come back and he stands up just to stare at them all. Spock asks Scotty to beam down with a phaser rifle just in case. Spock reports that Mitchell is getting stronger and that Dana is wrong to think he's not a threat. The Enterprise is almost fully recharged and the majority of the landing party is being beamed back up. Dana wants to stay behind with Mitchell. Mitchell uses his telekinesis to strangle Kelso. Kelso had rigged up a self-destruct earlier, and Mitchell doesn't want him to use it for obvious reasons. Mitchell kills his longtime friend Kelso, proving not only that he's dangerous, but that he can't be trusted. Mitchell tells Kirk that he should have killed him when he had the chance. Mitchell zaps Kirk and Spock, and opens the force field with ease. He brings Dana into the room, and it's revealed that she now has the silver glowing eyes too. Dr. Piper shows up and revives Kirk. Kirk says to hold off on reviving Spock. The Mitchell situation is Kirk's fault, and Kirk will fix it. Kirk grabs Spock's phaser rifle and orders Piper that should Kirk not report back within 12 hours, the Enterprise was to travel to the nearest Earth base at maximum warp, with Kirk's recommendation that the entire planet be subjected to a lethal dose of neutron radiation. Mitchell and Dana are walking through a valley, and she notes how it would make a miracle to live here. And Mitchell brings a miracle. A small garden with a pond appears. If he can keep doing that, then they could survive forever. Kirk traps them down, but Mitchell senses him coming. He tells Dana to go to Kirk and talk to him. See how unimportant normal humans are. Dana talks to Kirk, and it seems like he's getting through when Mitchell shows up and says he's disappointed in Dana. Kirk tries the phaser rifle on him, but it doesn't have any effect. Mitchell ghost slaps the phaser out of Kirk's hand. Mitchell makes a hole in the ground to be Kirk's grave. He makes a gravestone marker with James R. Kirk on it. Note that eventually his name is retconned to James T. Kirk. T is for Tiberius. Mitchell telepathically forces Kirk onto his knees in a prayer position. Kirk tries to plead with Dana. Absolute power corrupting absolutely. Dana has a change of heart. She zaps Mitchell, who, in turn, zaps her back. Now there's a zap battle. She zaps him enough so that his eyes go away. Kirk punches and chops Mitchell, and there's a good old-fashioned fisticuffs fight. Kirk gets his shirt ripped open, of course, and eventually overpowers Mitchell. Kirk is about to smash Mitchell's head with a rock, saying, "Please forgive me," when the silvery eyes return. Kirk avoids Mitchell for a bit, but eventually is able to force him into Kirk's grave. Kirk grabs a phaser rifle and shoots a boulder up above loose. It falls on the grave and seals Mitchell in. Kirk goes to Dana, and she apologizes before succumbing to her injuries and also dying. Kirk calls the Enterprise and is next seen on board the bridge. He records the official losses of Dana and Mitchell, but records them as dying in the line of duty. Spock agrees with the situation, and that ends the episode. Thanks for tuning in. If you liked today's story, please drop a like and subscribe so you get updates on new ones. See you next time on Treksplained.